Hi everyone, it's Nicole for Simon Says Stamp, and welcome to the February 2025 edition of Making the Cut. Making the Cut is my monthly series here on the Simon Says Stamp YouTube channel where we talk about my favorite thing, die cutting. We are going to be creating some wonderful floral cards today, and I'll be sharing some of my favorite tips and tricks for combining florals and creating a cohesive design. We're actually going to start today with our background, which is stenciled. And the reason we're starting with this is anytime I have something that requires some dry time, I do want to start with that. We're using the Crochet Blocks stencil from Simon Says Stamp with some Hero Arts white pearl paste. I'm using the stamp wheel to help hold my paper and my stencil in place, applying a generous amount of the white pearl paste and taking a stencil pal and applying that paste all over the 4 by 5¼ inch background. I'm giving a very smooth application, removing the excess, putting it back in the jar, carefully removing the stencil, and carefully prying up the background. Now, the reason this is important for today's card is that in addition to the florals that are going to be the focal point, I like to make sure that I have a cohesive design. In this case, we are really just reinforcing that floral idea with our background, but we don't want it to compete with everything else. By using this beautiful soft navy Simon Says Stamp cardstock with the white pearl paste, it gives you interest without overwhelm. And this will work on many, many different kinds of cards. The detail is stunning. It gives you texture, but it isn't super dimensional. I am doing all 3 of these at one time and very quickly. I'm working pretty fast, even though this is sped up. I did work quickly with this because I don't want that paste to dry on anything, my stamp wheel, my stencil, or any of the tools. Once I have my paste applied, I will put it away. I will go wash everything with a little gentle soap and water and allow it to air dry. And we're letting our backgrounds dry as well. Next, we are going to take one of my favorite, what I'm going to call an OG Simon Says Stamp product. This is the Postage Stamp Edge Frame Dies. Now, these are all the rage right now, postage everything. These dies actually have been part of the Simon Says Stamp product family for quite a while and continue to be one of my favorites. We're going to combine the second smallest frame from this set with one of my very, very favorite embossing folders, the woven embossing folder, to give it wonderful texture. I have die cut 6 of these postage rectangles from Ivory Simon Says Stamp cardstock, and on 3 of them I will be using the woven embossing folder to give it texture. Now, why 6 do you say? Well, we are going to layer them on the card front panels to give a little added interest. I didn't really want to incorporate another color here, although you totally could, but I really liked the idea of one rectangle slightly overlapping the other. So here is the base. Next, let's talk about our florals today. We are mixing and matching my favorite thing of all time, Iceland Poppies Morning Morning Garden floral frame and hanging leaf ring. I have die cut the floral components from these 3 die sets from different colors of Simon Says Stamp cardstock, and we'll talk more about that when we add texture. I am layering my 2 postage rectangles together, and you'll notice that up at the top I have added some little black dots, and I am going to punch holes to kind of really close to them. I'm just eyeballing it. You could measure it out if you want to, but I did not do that for this. Then we're going to take some wonderful hemp twine from Lawn Fawn or any thin ribbon. I think a ribbon threaded through the top would be super cute as well, or other kinds of twine. And we are going to just feed it through those 2 holes, starting at the front and ending at the front as well, so that we can tie it into a little bow for added interest. Almost like a little field notes floral that, you know, you're tacking to this beautiful fabric board, let's say. I often talk about this on my own YouTube channel, that I sometimes tell stories to myself when I am designing, and that was kind of the story I'm telling myself here. That beautiful stenciled background almost looks like a fabric, and then these are like little fabric swatches, if you will, and they've got a beautiful little floral bundle, maybe the dried florals attached to them. So once we have our bow tied and we have that ready to go, it is time to add some interest to our beautiful florals. Anything that is green, this is green leaf cardstock from Simon Says Stamp. I am taking a small blending brush and applying Raindrop Positively Saturated ink to some of the areas to deepen and darken the green. Something I want to encourage you guys to try, if you haven't already, is you don't always have to match your ink color exactly to the cardstock. Where you might have gone for a dark green on this green cardstock, I went for more of a teal green, and I love the depth and dimension it provides. You're going to see me do that in a couple of areas. On the Peacock Simon Says Stamp cardstock here, I am using the Night colored Positively Saturated ink to apply that deep dark color to it, and as that color dries and absorbs, it really gives you a beautiful depth and dimension, even though it's more of a navy than that teal color. I am going to go ahead and glue pieces together as I work. So for this floral, I did glue 2 of those together. Then we have our Iceland poppies, and I have die cut these from the new honey and creamsicle cardstocks respectively. On the honey cardstock, we are using the clay ink to add a little color. Again, I'm not using a dark yellow, I'm using more of a terracotta color, obviously that clay color, so it's got an orange tone to it, but it works perfectly on this honey cardstock. Same goes for our creamsicle cardstock. We are actually going to use cranberry ink, a red ink, on the orange to give us that depth and dimension for our orange poppy, pardon me. I almost forgot the flower center here. Now, I decided I didn't want to run my die through my die cut machine again, so all I did was just take one of the flower centers, it doesn't matter what, added some dark color to it. I just used the clay here. I used clay, brick, or cranberry, pardon me. It really didn't matter on any of those flowers, just to give me a different color. You could also die cut all of your components from either an ivory or a white cardstock and completely add color to them if you want to. I love die cutting florals from colored cardstock and just adding the shading in with inks or markers or pencils or whatever the case may be, because you already start with a nice base layer and it really simplifies that shading because you aren't having to start from scratch, if you will. On the creamsicle cardstock, I am using the cranberry ink to shade in that color. If you have some detail blending brushes, any kind of detail blending brushes, I highly recommend them here, as for detailed die cut pieces, they take up much less room and less space, meaning they're not going to cover the entire die cut with ink when you go to add in that shading. Let me find another flower center and add in some dark ink here. And I just really did it super messy as I was working along. And then we're just going to add in our little bottom piece. I love these detailed florals. Now, Simon Says Stamp has an amazing assortment of florals. Shop your stash. See what you have that you can mix and match together. I pulled, like I showed you, from 3 different sets. One is more of a wreath type of design, one is a frame design, but the florals in those sets are the perfect size to mix and match into this floral garden that I wanted to create on this little background. A lot of times these die sets that we have, or that we may be purchasing because we love all the different sizes in them, can be worked in lots of different ways outside of just exactly how they come. And I really want to encourage you to try the mixing and the matching, because it extends the life of all of these wonderful products that we have in our stash. Now I see that I accidentally put glue where I wasn't supposed to on my little red flower here, so I'm going to fix those. I love all the layering of these florals. Now, another thing I want to talk about with the florals I'm using here as I finish up my inking. You may notice that we have the rainbow assortment of colors represented on our card today. We have red, orange, yellow, green, teal, and a navy blue. I guess I didn't exactly use a purple, but when I'm designing a card and I can't come up with a color combination that is just like glaring, like use me, a lot of times I will revert back to a rainbow color combination. This card probably doesn't scream rainbow to you, but it definitely was inspired by rainbow. And I always find that is a great, just a great kind of fallback. If you ever are struggling with a color combination, you can always revert to that. This is more of a primary color type of card, but you could do it in pastels and brights, anything that you like. I've also used the stems from my Iceland poppies for other florals in this design. I didn't limit myself to just using those stems for a certain flower. I needed one extra stem. I really felt like we needed 3, and then the rest of that greenery is going to really help fill in. We don't need a ton of other stems. I'm just going to snip it a little bit shorter to fit better. We're doing lots of layering. My other tip for building a great floral design is to be very conscious and aware of where you are placing your glue. I try to keep the glue mostly on the stem and not underneath leaves. And this is going to allow us to easily tuck florals in, or maybe move some of the blooms in front of others, and really build a beautiful floral arrangement, much like if you were working with actual florals. Now, I did notice that with this small little leaf bundle, I forgot to ink it. I really think I might have thought I wasn't going to use it, and then I got to this point of the design and said, yeah, we need more greenery. My theory is more greenery is always a good idea. So let's go ahead and just tuck that in, and then we will finish off with the rest of our little blooms. Lots of layering here, and look at the wonderful texture of that woven embossing folder on that postage frame background. It looks amazing. Now, I forgot to mention this earlier in the video, but if you want to add embossing to a die cut shape, I recommend die cutting it first and then adding your embossing to it. Otherwise, when you roll it through, if you embossed your background first and then choose to die cut it, when you roll it through for the die cutting, it could smash some of that embossed texture. And we're really looking for the texture here. So definitely go ahead and die cut your shape first, whether it's a heart or circle, or in this case, a fun postage edge rectangle. We're filling in with our smallest flowers now, and look at this beautiful floral arrangement. You could do this in any color combination you like. You could do it in some more pastel tones for maybe a little bit more of an Easter type of feel or card. You could do these in pinks and reds for Valentine's Day, or choose some of your favorite late summer blooms, some sunflowers and things for fall, or even poinsettias and Christmas foliage. Lots and lots of fun ideas for this. I am going to secure my 2 rectangles together so that they don't go anywhere. And then I am going to go ahead and place some foam adhesive on the back of both of the tags. This is my favorite long foam adhesive strips. And then we're going to just pop this in the middle of our stenciled panel. Look how amazing this is. It is so good. Next, we're going to take the Butter Positively Dazzling Gems from Simon Says Stamp, and I've got them in my triangle tray here with my embellishment wand, and I am going to place these in the center of a lot of the florals. Now, if you don't have gems and you would prefer to use cardstock, these sets all come with flower centers. I just chose not to use them because embellishing is life. I love adding some fun embellishment to my projects, and I especially love gems, and Simon Says Stamp has us covered with amazing, beautiful gems. Once I'm all finished, I am going to put glue on the back of my panel and glue it down to another cream base. Now it could be a cream card base if you have one of those, or just a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch panel of cream cardstock before you place this on a white card base. The reason I do this is because we have used that cream cardstock for the background of our floral arrangement. I felt like white would really take away if I used a white, or just pop that on a card base with a white background. Next, one of my favorite sentiment stamps stamp sets from Simon Says Stamp is Birthday Basics. On some soft navy cardstock, we are going to apply some powder. We are going to stamp our sentiments down with the embossing and watermark ink and use cream embossing powder. I have heard from so many of you who have not tried the cream embossing powder. If you have not, I encourage you to pick this up. You are going to love it. There are those times where we may not always want to use white, and this is one of those cases. The cream, I want an embossed sentiment. I always want an embossed sentiment, but the white would have really detracted or taken away from the design. This cream matches our ivory cardstock perfectly, and it just goes with the entire design so well. It's just warm enough that it's not that stark white, and I absolutely love it. I'm going to go ahead and die cut these 3 sentiments using the coordinating Birthday Basics dies. I did choose to do 3 different greetings. I did 3 cards today. I had lots and lots of florals, so I kind of just used up what I had. I do have a few left over that I can always save for a tag or extra project of some sort. I'm always needing little florals, and stamping 3 different sentiments at one time allowed me to not have to, stamp and repeat. I'm a big proponent of work smarter, not harder, pardon me. Okay, now that we have die cut our greetings, we are going to put some foam adhesive strips on the back and pop these right at the bottom of each of our little tags. This is the perfect, simple finishing embellishment. You could do any kind of greeting that you want here. Maybe I kind of did these more celebration and birthday type of cards, but you could do anniversaries or wedding or friendship or love or thank you. Anything you can think of. Simon Says Stamp has so many wonderful sentiment stamp sets, so definitely pick your favorite to finish up your card design. Okay, that is it, friends. Thank you guys so much for joining me for the February 2025 edition of Making the Cut. The supplies I used to create my 3 cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Hi there, I'm Heidi, Simon's mama and founder at simonsaysstamp.com. Thank you so much for watching our video. If you like what you just saw, be sure to press the thumbs up and subscribe to see more great content.